Whoa! Hey y'all, welcome to Oz Homestead. Today what I want to talk about is why I think pigs are a really cool homestead animal that you should look into getting. Now they're very curious and sometimes they nip a little bit, but they're pretty cool animals. And today what I'm going to talk about is the benefits of keeping pigs and why I think it's a good idea. Right, pigs? So we'll talk about some of the benefits of keeping pigs and why I think they're such an awesome animal, and how historically throughout Europe and the United States, these have kept nations and peoples alive for hundreds of years. Ain't that right, pig? That'll do, pig. That'll do. So the way I set up my pigs is I have a shelter, which I have a video on how I built that shelter, so you should check it out. I'll link it in the description below. And then I also set up this permanent area with cattle panels. Now what you should use is hog panels, not cattle panels, but this is what we had back when we had goats and they work fine. Although some of the holes are a little big when they are younger. Some of the important things to have, at least when you first get your pigs, is a permanent area like this one here. And I just use T-posts and these cattle panels to kind of keep them in until they get a little big. And then eventually what I'll do is I'll put the electric netting in here so that they can learn not to touch it because it'll shock them. And then once they learn and they get big enough, that's when I either open up a panel or the gate and I run my electric netting out here. And to contain the pigs, all you really need is something like this Premier One net setup. So this is an electric net, it has a solar charger, and then there's a ground that goes here to this ground pole that you push into the ground. And then it has the actual power connection here to the fence there that just clips onto a clip on the fence. So this fence, you know, you just stick it in the ground and you make your perimeter, and you can adjust it and move it every couple of weeks. And that's just the way to run pigs. Also, as you can see here, I have a pig waterer that the piggies are using right now. And so what that is it's a 50 to 55 gallon pickle barrel, and you just drill holes and you put the little nipples on there, and this thing will hold water in the summertime for roughly a week, maybe less in the summertime, but you know, during the other months, the cooler months, it holds it for a lot longer, and the pigs love it. They learn how to use it very quickly. Pigs are pretty intelligent. And people think, oh, if I have pigs, I can't go away for a weekend and take a vacation. That's absolutely false. All you have to do is follow some of the videos I make, like this one here, where I made this feeder. So this is a gravity feeder with a 55 gallon pickle barrel. And what I did is I put it on a pallet so I can move it with the tractor, and I drilled some holes, and you just basically put feed in the top, a couple of bags of feed, and it goes down and the pigs will eat on it, and it'll keep filling back up in this little trough here. And you just make a roof and you're good to go. And what you can do, this will feed them for about a week. Another important thing to have is a wallow. And what a wallow is it's just a hole in the ground that you fill up with water, and the pigs go in there and they cool off. Because pigs can't sweat, and so what they like to do is they like to get in the mud, cake themselves in mud, and just like that. And what that does is it acts as like kind of like a redneck sunscreen there, and it keeps them nice and cool. Another important thing is to always make sure that your pigs have shade. So I have a holly tree here and a couple of oaks, and I left like a cluster here so that they always have shade, especially with the hollies, because the hollies have leaves throughout the entire year. They're an evergreen, so they'll always have shade. And you can see the videos how I clear the land and I use the pigs to do it, but I always make sure I leave shade. If you raise them like we do in the woods, where they're moved regularly, it produces an extremely good product. As you know, when you go to the grocery store, typically the pork is gray and just does not look appealing at all. However, the pork that you get raising them on pasture like we do, or in paddocks and rotating them regularly, allows the pig to run around, play, and forage on natural stuff like roots and leaves and stuff like they're doing right there. And so what that does is it allows them to have marbling and just a superior kind of meat, where there's fat kind of like infused with the muscle and the protein there, that just makes such a tastier, more delicious and visually appealing product. Like for these cuts right here, we have a ham, we have a shoulder steak here, and you just see how dense and red this meat is, and the marbling and the fat ingrained in it. It just makes it so delicious. And that's just the unfortunate thing, is most people like me grew up eating pork from the grocery store, and it was just never appealing. Like I remember having pork chops, and while my mom did a good job cooking them, we always had to lather them in applesauce for them to taste decent. Now here, the pork is just, it tastes incredible. I mean, our shoulder steaks taste like New York strip, which is insane. One of my favorite benefits to having pigs is the fact that they can help you clear land. They can help you manage your forests. They can help you manage your homestead and your land. And the way we do that is we put the pigs in an area. They get rid of a lot of the saplings and all the undesirable stuff. They eat poison ivy. They just demolish everything. And what they like to do, as you can see here, is they like to root up. So they stick their noses in the ground, they dig it up, they turn the soil. They're just basically little helpers. They're your little plows. So they plow the land for you, they turn it up, they allow oxygen to get back in that soil. And what that does is it allows you to come through with seed, put the seed down, and grow, regenerate the soil. So these pigs back here have been in this paddock for about 2.5 weeks, and they've already done a real number on it. You can see where the grass is here, and then where their paddock is, and just like how much they've disturbed the soil. So what we're gonna do is, while they're still in here, I'm gonna put this K31 seed mix in here, and I'm gonna spread this around. And they're gonna be here for a few more days, and what they're gonna do is their little feet are gonna press that seed into the ground. It's supposed to rain tonight, so it should be all good. So they're not gonna eat the seed because it's so small, so let's go ahead and get this done. So this right here is an area the pigs used to be in that I kind of cleared out a little bit. I still have a lot more to do on that side, but as an experiment for the first time, I planted the K31 seed mix in here after the pigs were on it. And you can see it comes in really thick. It's got a lot of clover in there, fescue, I believe ryegrass and bluegrass. So it's a pretty good generic pasture mix. So another big myth is that pigs smell. And that's true for any animal. If you can find them in the same spot for a long period of time, there's going to be a high manure load. The way we do it, and the way a lot of homesteaders do with the permaculture methods and the regenerative farming, is you move your animals every couple of weeks to a new area. When you do that, the manure load isn't in the same area for a long period of time. That just lets them kind of move to a new area off that manure load. The parasite cycle dies down, so it's healthier for the animals, and it doesn't smell. And if more people did this, maybe that stupid myth would go away. Sorry guys, I'm trying to defend you here. So what we raise here are Hampshire hogs. We've had Tamworth Cooney crosses in the past, and they were good pigs, but we wanted to switch to something that is more like the Wagyu of pork, and those are Hampshire hogs. So our Hampshire hogs are a heritage breed. It's an old British breed that grows nice and long, so you get a lot more bacon out of it. What's kind of disheartening is historically, pork has been a big part of the American and European diet back in the day. And wars were fought, and soldiers were fed, and sailors were fed with pork. Pork could be preserved with salt, and it could be kept for a while. And you'd have salt pork. You know, bacon was a preservation method, smoking and salting bacon, hams, all that stuff that we take for, you know, we just think, oh, let's get a ham for, you know, Easter. That was a preservation method that made that ham taste the way it did. You know, we just think of it as like, oh, salted butter, or, you know, this and that. Those were all preservation methods that people did back in the day to make food last longer. People would typically process and harvest their hogs in the wintertime. That's why they call it, oh, it's cold out, it's hog killing weather. That's just the way it was back then, because you could, while it was cold, you could process all those animals, and you could store them in your shed with salt and brown sugar, and you just lather all that stuff up, wrap it in newspaper, and hang it up in your shed, and it would last months, you know, and that would get people through the winters and help them survive. Pork was a huge staple in folks' diet back then. We want to be different. We want to move away from this modern industrial farming and get back to the way historically heritage breed pigs were raised. With our pork, we feed them a non-GMO feed, so we don't have all the chemicals and all that nasty stuff that's sprayed on in industrial crops. And that is also just healthier for you, it's healthier for the animal, and it just makes more sense. So that's why we do that. So if I could ask you guys one thing, is please go to your local farmer's market, find a farmer who sells pork, and ask them the methods that they use to raise their pork. If it's similar to the way we raise it, or if it's like any kind of heritage breed, or they're raised on pasture, or they're rotated, any of that kind of stuff, just do me a favor and just buy one cut of that pork and try it at your house. Go find a good cooking video, find a nice recipe, and just sit down and enjoy that, and tell me how it is. Tell me in the comments how it is. Tell all your friends how it is, because I guarantee you it is better than any of the pork that you've ever had growing up. So I hope this video was interesting. I hope it was helpful. There's probably some things that I didn't cover, but if I didn't, if you have any questions, reach out. Just shoot me a message in the comments and I will respond to it. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you subscribe, comment, like, all the things, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks.